they know you know the law and you know what you're doing, that
Mm,
they don't play
mm.
as many games and the process gets done a lot smoother, a lot easier. It's just like, okay,
Yes.
she's South African, she understands, and I know the paperwork is up to date. I mean, all right, guys,
Okay.
it's your girl Jay Scott, and if you are new, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. I know it's been a while since I posted a video. I actually visited back to the US. I am here currently, but I will be back in South Africa very, very soon. It has been about 3 years since I've been home, and I have recorded a lot of content. I just haven't posted. But there is one thing that you guys keep asking me about, and it's the visa process, right? So I was like, let me get someone who has expertise in this, a lot more knowledge than I do. And guess what? I found Miss Sue, or let's say she found me on TikTok. So today I have Miss Sue, who is the company is Moving South Immigration, and she helps people with their visa process. So, Miss Sue, welcome to my YouTube channel.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So, tell us kind of about where you're from and what you do.
Okay, so I'm from Cape Town, in South Africa, of course, and I'm a registered South African immigration practitioner, fully certified, fully registered, and I've been assisting with South African visas for the last 15 years. All kinds of South African visas, depends on your eligibility. And a year and a half ago, I founded my company called Moving South Immigration, and yeah, we're only getting stronger from there.
Okay, well, I'm American,
Yeah,
not really South African. So, like, our process is a little different. And based on our conversation, I know you said you helped Americans as well as other immigrants from other parts of the world get their visas. What
yeah,
visas can we get, and how are the processes? And I know they may vary depending on specific visas.
yeah. So, first of all, it really depends on what you want to do in South Africa, how long you want to do it for, and then, yeah, whether you are eligible for it or not. Every single visa that South Africa offers, they have the unique set of requirements. And I basically, like I said, I assist with every single South African visa that there is to offer, providing you are eligible for it and you qualify for it. Yeah, some of the visas that there are is obviously the critical skills work visa, the intra-company transfer work visa, the general work visa, those, and the short-term work visa by means of what they call a Section 11.2. Those are the work visa categories. Then there would be the student visa, or in typical terms, we call it the study visa, is when you want to study in South Africa at a registered learning institution. There's the relatives visa for maybe South Africans, or foreigners who are was the spouses of South African citizens or permanent residence holders, or even if you are the child of a South African citizen or permanent residence holder. The relatives visa can also be issued to a sibling, a legally adopted sibling or a biological sibling of a South African citizen or permanent residence holder. Then there's the business visa. If you decide you want to open your own business and be very hands-on with this business, you can look at the business visa option. There's a research visa if you want to come do research in South Africa and you actually receive like some sort of invitation, by, like, it can be a university, it can be a learning institution, and you can actually apply for a research visa. A visa not commonly known is, I think some people refer to it as an artist visa. A writer, an actor, can even models. They can all apply for this visa. It's a 3-year visa, but of course the paperwork need to align with it. And then
So
medical.
with that artist
Yeah,
visa, with
yeah.
Okay, because there are a lot of people that are creatives.
Yeah.
What kind of paperwork or documents they need in order
Mm.
to procure that?
I would usually, the typical one document that they would need to be is like a portfolio of your work. So if you are a writer, for instance, you need to produce a portfolio of your work. If you are a painter, or an artist or whatever, you need to provide a portfolio of your work. Even teachers who teach at international schools abroad, and I've done quite a few for some Americans as well, and they maybe have a counterpart in South Africa, like the American school or whatever, and there's a counterpart in South Africa. They can even apply for this 3-year visa. So it's very there's a diversity attached to this visa. Even if someone comes to or to South Africa on a work visa, and you as the spouse just merely want to accompany, the main visa holder, you can apply for a dependent visa on that as well. So it's one category, but there are different activities to be done on that visa as well. The artist, definitely portfolio. That's the most important thing that you would need to submit as well. And then the other visas would obviously be the medical treatment visa. If you need to receive medical treatment in South Africa, that's a maximum 6-month visa, which you, of course, you can renew depending on whether you still need treatment. And a visa that not many people know about is the exchange visa. And this can be a visa that if you fall part of a cultural program at your university or at your learning institution or some sort of cultural company, you can apply for an exchange visa. And then the other one would also be an exchange visa for under 25s. A lot of times, people study obviously abroad, and South Africa, being the tourist destination that it is, attracts a lot of talent in the restaurant industry. And I mean, you know, Jay, that we have a lot of restaurants. So what some individuals do, especially culinary schools, they do their studies, etc. They come to South Africa for a year, come do their practicals, and if they are under the age of 25, they can, look for an offer, or a company who's willing to give them an offer for a year, and apply for the exchange visa. So, and that's not a visa that many people know about, actually. So I'm just putting it out there for whoever needs it.
Well, thank you for sharing because I didn't know about that. I'm listening like, okay. I was in my mind, I'm like, should I
Lots of
take notes? But no,
options.
it's recorded, so I will go back.
Lots of options. Lots of options.
Yeah, so I think for me, it's been just within I would say the windmill, meaning the groups that I'm involved with,
Mm-hmm.
friends that I've seen kind of go through some of those processes. Why is it so difficult?
It's actually not. Um, you know, South Africa, like any other country, they have an immigration law, and technically and strictly speaking, you only need to abide by the immigration law. You know, but because of inconsistencies between the South African embassies or high commissions or consulates, whatever you find yourself in your home country, that's sometimes where the challenge is. So the law in a whole and the law itself is very straightforward. It's black and white. But often it's the practicalities within the South African mission. It's often the misinterpretation of the law that sometimes causes some friction and unpleasantness, if you know what I mean. So it's not
Yeah,
it's
because I'm
not
over here, I'm
difficult. It's not.
listening to you.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I know people who done the exact same process with the same paperwork. Some were approved and some
Yes.
were denied. And it's just like, did things change later, or it depends on the person that you get? Because that
Yeah. Yeah.
doesn't mean it's so black and white. It's like
Yeah.
one person says, no, you need this extra thing, yet my other friend didn't need that. So it's just like, but I
Yeah.
made sure I had all the documents that I need. Just
Yes.
so
Yes.
these are the
It's the
stories that I
process.
hear, that I see, and it's just like, okay, well, how do I
yeah,
not get denied? Like for
yeah,
example,
yeah,
the retirement visa. You
yeah,
need
yeah,
assets and things like that. People present that and then it say, oh, but that's not enough. And I know when you and I discuss, you say, oh, well, if you have a house and you're renting it or you show your assets, it's okay. Well, somebody
yeah,
just got denied and said was
exactly.
told that wasn't enough. But why?
Yeah. So that would be obviously for a retired visa, and I was actually keeping this particular visa separately because
Okay.
of the inconsistencies that go with it. For instance, I mean, I've done quite a lot based on different, So the retired visa, there's technically three categories that you can apply for. The first one would be a pension if you are pension or retirement age and you receive a monthly pension of at least 37,000 South African rands. That would be one avenue. The other avenue would be if you have assets that you lease out, obviously on a monthly basis and to the amount of at least 37,000 rand, or at least the equivalent to 37,000 rand per month. That would be another option. And the final option that I find a lot of the younger generation goes for is the net worth. And we, layman's terms, we call it the lump sum, where they simply just show one big amount of money that equivalents to at least 37,000 rand. And you obviously multiply that by 12 months and then times four, because the retirement visa is usually issued for a maximum period of 4 years. That's what they submit. Um, but like you said, it's a lot of inconsistencies between the South African missions. For instance, I've recently submitted a retirement visa for a 38-year-old in the UK by means of the net worth, the lump sum. I had no problem whatsoever. You can't do that in Germany, for instance, because they say no, you can only apply for a retired visa when you reach retirement age. Nothing about the age mentioned in our laws, but these are the kind of things that people unfortunately face here. So it's very, very frustrating.
So what I'm understanding is send people to you so that you can get it processed if they have the correct document because there won't be
Yeah,
any inconsistencies.
yeah, something like that. Something like that.
That's
But
that's
yeah,
what my understanding is. It's like, oh, you got denied. Okay, let's call Sue.
yeah, it's unfortunate, and it is
Yeah.
quite frustrating because you know the law, So it's supposed to be straightforward, and but yeah, it's just one of those
So
things.
do you find, I guess, as a person applying for a visa by themselves, or as you processing it for people being that agent that's in between, do you find that because they know the law and you know what you're doing, that
Mm,
they don't play
mm.
as many games and the process gets done a lot smoother, a lot easier? It's just like, okay,
Yes,
she's South African, she understands, and I know the paperwork is up to date. I mean, even though, like,
yes and no.
someone else may have the exact same thing, but it depends.
Yes and no, and I will tell you why. Because they hate us at times because we're the only ones who can fight with them with the law, because we know the law. And with a previous law change, our occupation, shall I say, was kind of like written out of the law, right? So yeah, that's really what happened. So we call it in legal terms, our occupations were repealed out of the acts and the regulations. But it's fine, it's not a problem. So what we do, we can tell them exactly, what this, because that's what I do. I literally, when I know it's a very difficult embassy or mission, I make copies out of the law. I highlight, I will circle, I will bring the point across.
They
I
hate
know
you.
it sounds, yeah, but some of them are also so nice though, where you don't have to, So it is really inconsistent. And it's not that you don't want to, it's simply you really want to make it a pleasant and smooth experience for your client, you know. So where they would be a, where I know, for instance, the Netherlands, super difficult. I will make sure I have extracts out of the law, out of the regulations, to make sure it complements the application, it justifies the application, and it aligns with the law. Because my first job as an immigration practitioner is compliance, right? That's my very first job. Um, because we deal with a law. It's an immigration law, it's a different kind of law, but it's still a law. So my first job is compliance. And yeah, so sometimes they're nice about it, and sometimes they tell me, Sue, you're just showing off. And I'm like, it's okay. You never know who's going to look at the paperwork. Just take it as it is. And because then I know my client is covered at least. And that's what I would always advise people. If you know you're going to submit a visa application, do your research. Do your research thoroughly. Make sure you understand what you are submitting. It doesn't matter what type of application it is, but make sure that you understand what you're submitting. Understand, do your research so that you know what is for what.
No, I definitely agree. I feel like, people try to help one another and say, hey, this is what I did. This is the
Yeah,
process. Here's the
yeah,
information. This is what you need. But from my understanding, I think it's probably best to get someone to assist you within that process. But some people have had good luck and some people have gotten
mhm,
scammed. So, how do you
yeah,
avoid when you decide to
yeah,
say, hey, I do need help, avoid getting scammed where your process is not
mhm,
um,
yeah, yeah,
is not actually being in process in
yeah,
regards to someone actually you think is being in process and then you find out you have a fake visa. I hear about a
yeah,
lot of these stories. So how do you avoid that as um, I would just say as an immigrant into South Africa or someone
yeah.
that's seeking to do things the proper way?
Yeah, yeah. You know, this question makes me really sad and frustrated because um, I also hear the stories, of course. So if you if you do decide to make use of an agency, look, we often gets referred to as an agency, you know. Do your due diligence. Do your due diligence. If it's an attorney or a lawyer, make sure they are registered on the court's role or whatever. You know, they are admitted attorneys. If they tell you that you are a that they are registered practitioners, you go to the website of the Forum for Immigration Practitioners South Africa. They should be listed there, and it should say this person is in good standing. So check check their socials, check their Facebook pages, check their websites, look at the reviews. You know, you will have a good feel of this person. And any person who tells you I can get your visa for you in 2 weeks or a month, that's a major red flag. Yes, if you submit it abroad, then it's fine. If you submit it in your home country, those are the typical timelines that you look at. But I think if you submit in your home country, you can easily also liaise with the South African embassy there and say, listen, just confirm this with me. That's a major red flag if it's done in South Africa. Nobody gets visas out in 2 weeks. No, not at all. You must, if you submit
So
in South Africa, you must attend the submission in person at the VFS office because they take biometrics. If that agency tells you you don't have to do biometrics, you don't have to do an in-person submission, steer clear. Steer clear. It's not right.
Okay. So speaking of biometrics and going in the process, so once, just for those who want to know, once you submit your paperwork, they call you for biometrics, and
You know,
then what
no.
what's the next like
So
process? How many times do you have to go in? What is the I guess correspondence between you,
mhm,
yourself, and your client? And then what is
yeah.
how long is the process?
Okay, so if it's a submission that you do in your home country, you will typically submit directly with the embassy or with the
Mhm.
VFS office or with the consulate or whatever, but everything happens there at the same time. There's no three steps, separate steps, not at all. Some embassies they do not have yet the biometric system, so it's not as if but they
That's
would
what I wanted you to
require.
state because some people don't do the
Yeah,
biometrics, but it depends
yeah,
on in your country. But if you're in
yeah,
South
yeah.
Africa, you definitely do it.
It's compulsory, and if you do it in South Africa, the day that you lodge your application, you do the biometrics as well. So what you have to do, uh, a submission in South Africa would be you have a what they call an appointment letter because you would have had to do your appointment online so that you can and pay online so that you can receive your appointment letter, which is it serves as its dual purpose. So it serves as your proof of payment that you paid for the visa appointment and the application, and to confirm your appointment. And with that appointment letter, you have to basically have your visa pack ready. It goes through a quality assurance. If your paperwork is correct, it goes to another quality assurance where you receive and sign for an original receipt, which you have to keep safe, by the way. And the third process is you go for your biometrics, which would be the photos and the fingerprints, and that's it. So when you walk out of that VFS office, you had to undergo those three steps, and you have to walk out with an original VFS receipt, which you sign for. That is the correct process for submission in South Africa.
And then
Overseas,
after you do
you do it in
that,
person.
oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't hear you.
Overseas, in your home country, it's an in-person submission. In person. If the embassy tells you we're having a situation at the office at the moment or whatever, please courier your visa pack together with your passport. That will be communicated to you.
Okay, so then after you do all of that, what's the waiting period? How long?
So when you lodge abroad, it really depends on the embassies. So some takes 10 working days, some take 30 working days, some take 80 weeks. It really just depends. But the embassies are usually generally very good at sticking to their processing time from the date of lodgement, right? In South Africa, and due to the backlog, anything from 18 to 24 months. It just depends. And because there is still a backlog which they endeavor to clear maybe by June 2024. That's the date that they gave us, but we have to see.
So what okay. I'm just like,
I
why?
know.
I'm trying to like compute it, like have it like download. Did you
Yeah.
just say June 2024? Like, why is it taking that long? What is the backlog?
Um, Two reasons. So the backlog started when COVID-19 started, basically, right? So before that, it was relatively and really good, right? Then COVID-19 happened, and obviously, practically every single country's borders closed, right? And that meant that our Department of Home Affairs, they just didn't work on visa applications because why would they work on visa applications if the borders are closed? Nobody's supposed to enter, nobody's supposed to exit anyway. So there's no permitting, like they call it, were kind of like put on the back burner because no visas were needed at the time, right? So obviously, with all these VFS offices in South Africa, accepting the applications and sending them through to the head office where all the processing happens and the adjudication, those are thousands and thousands and thousands of applications that one visa VFS office receive on a daily or on a month. So all these applications just got stacked, and nobody was working on them. And eventually, when our borders opened, um, you know, some embassies accepted applications Sometimes, a certain time, visa applications were accepted, and then it was closed again. So adding more, no work, no visa issues, no nothing. The other factor was, unfortunately, our head office made the decision because of the inconsistencies that happened between the South African missions over, abroad. They were kind of like instructed, you receive the visa applications, but you are not going to process them on your own as you are authorized. You're going to send them to our head office to process. Um, so, take the already backlogged applications that obviously accumulated due to COVID 19, and the centralization process where all the South African missions around the world were allowed to only accept the applications, but they couldn't process them anymore. They had to also send them to head office. You obviously find yourself in a conundrum of a situation, and
Yeah.
this centralization process was only halted or called off end of August. So we all of a sudden we were sitting with more than 62,000 applications not being worked on. 35,000 of them being spousal visa applications. We still have those numbers. And yeah, so it's very frustrating for people who obviously lodged here, who were supposed to have their visas. Even those who lodged in 2021 still don't have visas, you know. And those are pretty much the two reasons why we have such a severe backlog, because of COVID 19 and because of the centralization period. And the department can unfortunately say what they want to say. The centralization process was a major mistake, because we don't have the workforce at the head office to process all these applications. So now we endeavor to have clear the backlog by June 2024. But I guess all of us would have to see whether it's really going to happen. I have my doubts, but maybe just maybe they will bring me an early Christmas present, 20, December 2024 Christmas present. So let's see.
So one thing that it's kind of difficult because this is one of the things I've been seeing recently within our global diaspora group, which is just a lot of Americans and people from around the world that are in South Africa, that's in different parts of the continent. So one of them is in South Africa. She got married. However, I think her, they had a baby, and the baby, one lady is told that the baby falls under her blanket visa. The other one, when she went to leave, got the immigration officer marked her baby indesirable.
Wow.
And that's one of the things that people are trying to assist with, or just saying that's not supposed to happen. They normally don't do that to babies. And she said that's what she was told. But her
Mm,
baby is now marked indesirable, as the process for, the baby forms and stuff is, getting taken care of. And she doesn't know what to do. Why is that
okay.
happening? How can someone avoid that? Does your baby need a
Hmm.
separate visa? What is the process? If the mom has a visa, does the baby fall under that? Or if it doesn't, because different people, especially, I was just going to say immigration lawyers, people that they are seeking advice from, is
Yeah.
saying that's not supposed to happen, but it happened. So what is the
Yeah.
delay between the immigration officer, the VFS office, the lawyers? Like,
Mm.
how do you avoid that?
Okay. So it pretty much depends on who came in to South Africa when the application was lodged, etc. So if a baby was born in South Africa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just one question. So in this particular case, is the mom married to a South African or not really? Do you
The
know?
mom is not South African.
Okay.
The mom, I believe,
The
is
dad?
American. But
Okay.
I
And the dad?
will. I'm just going to pull it up now.
Okay.
See,
Because you see,
they're talking about it
they are
today. This is a different case. It just says, they
they
swear that my baby falls under my blanket extension. I'm sitting here
yeah,
texting the attorney, and it just said someone said nobody knows the rules. It's just everyone is. It's three people in here who have babies. They all getting different things. And one baby,
yeah,
one I said one baby, one mom is getting. Her baby was like listed undesirable. But
yeah. There are
yeah,
rules.
let me
There
just
are
kind of
rules.
see what, because these are American women, and they have different visas. So their
Yeah,
visas may be different depending, that may apply to their child or not. But I just feel like if
yeah.
your baby is born, all of their babies were born in South Africa. No, I know you can't.
That's
Okay, and that's another
that's
thing
what I
to
want
to
to do.
yeah, it is. All three of their babies were born
That's
in South Africa, and I know that you can't
so.
get South African citizenship either. That's a whole
Yeah,
nother thing
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah. No, so that is what I wanted to know, because any baby who was born in South Africa, right? We refer to it as a landing, and it doesn't really matter whether the baby is the child of South African foreigners or whatever.
Hmm.
The moment the baby is born in South Africa, that baby needs to be landed. If the mother and the father are both foreigners, by the way, or one person is a foreigner and one is a permanent residence holder. It just depends, right? But what I'm trying to say is that if a baby is born in South Africa, that baby needs to be landed. And by landed, we mean need to apply for a visa, because that baby needs a visa to stay in South Africa. Like you said, so unlike the USA, when you're born in South Africa, you're not an automatic citizen. South Africa doesn't work like that. So that baby needs to be landed and apply for the appropriate visa, whatever it is. So I'm assuming a dependent visa. And those who say that it's wrong, they are correct. Babies like that who were born in South Africa and applied for their first visas, they may not be banned because there was not a visa previously that was overstayed. You can
Right.
only, immigration control can only ban someone if they overstayed a visa. That baby never had a visa. So that would be the first law. The second law is the only time that somebody who applied for their visa or even an extension or renewal, the only time that they not supposed to be banned is when they are covered under the blanket waiver, and that is when they submitted their visa applications prior to the 31st of March 2023. Those are the
So
only
I
two.
found the message. I was looking for it as you were talking, and it said, "My 1-year-old baby was marked undesirable upon our exit from South Africa, even though he had a pending temporary visa application. Has anyone had this experience before with a minor? Any tips to resolve this quickly?" So
Yeah,
it
so
was done.
if that baby was born here, it shouldn't
Yes,
have
it was.
happened, because that baby never had a visa which that baby overstayed.
Yeah. See, I just thought,
That's
I
the
was just like,
that's the
that's
only
that's a bit
time.
crazy.
Yeah, that's the only time that they can uh, ban you, shall I say, if you the only time that they can ban you is if you did not lodge a visa application, period, and your visa expired now, or if you maybe submitted after the 31st of March 2023. Because there's only one blanket waiver existing at the moment, and that is the one which clearly stipulates if you have a pending waiver application or a pending long term visa application that you submitted prior to the 31st of March 2023, you are covered until the 31st of December 2023. But what
So
happened to
then,
that
what can
baby?
this person do?
They unfortunately would need to submit an overstay appeal for that baby, because by law, a formal decision was made and issued, and
Woo.
unfortunately, they have to follow due the due processes.
So, but
So
a
they need,
decision was made at the border, even though the immigration officer was wrong.
yeah, yeah, unfortunately.
So could an
But
attorney overturn that? Because even just I was just reading and said, my attorney told me they don't mark babies undesirable, and an immigration officer when I came back and told me the same. And that's from another mother within the group. And it said even after this happened, another attorney was still trying to say that they wouldn't mark my baby undesirable because now people were getting worried and just like, well, what's going to happen
yeah,
to my child? So then,
yeah,
how do you, so now it's just like now the training of the immigration officers to be up to date so that this doesn't happen because now that they were wrong, this person now has to take that decision and it can't be
yeah,
reversed.
yeah. Unfortunately, and it is unfortunate because that attorney and the immigration officer who said they can't, especially if the baby was born here who never had a previous visa, they were right. They were not supposed to declare that baby undesirable. But you see, because a formal decision was made and issued, they have to follow the legal route of applying for an overstay appeal or submit an overstay appeal directly to the head office, and escalate it to the person who is in charge of overstay appeals. Because
So now what
factually,
happens to
factually they
the
would,
now
they
I'm
would
thinking what happens to the pending application now? Does that like get non
nothing.
and void because now the person
No,
is the baby? Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
that was
So
one of
it,
the major things. I was just like, this is crazy.
yeah.
I don't know what
So
I would
so
do
no,
if my baby is marked undesirable.
yeah. No. So that pending application, it will run, right? But the only time this poor parent can, get the result once this application is finalized is to be cleared, and make sure that it's updated on the system. Because firstly, obviously that baby won't be able to come back to South Africa, which means they can't collect that outcome without that passport anyway. So, and it's very sad, because it shouldn't have happened in the first place. And immigration control, they're supposed to, and sometimes, I know it sounds cliche, but sometimes the one hand doesn't speak to the other hand. Like, for instance, Home Affairs would sometimes issue directives or whatever, and immigration control have no cook and clue about it. I've had instances where the South African High Commission in Canberra in Australia asked me, "Sue, can you please send us a new law because we don't have it, because we haven't, nothing has been communicated to us." So it is very unfortunate, but like I said, they absolutely need to submit that overstay appeal, because that would be factually correct. By submitting it, it would be legally and factually correct to have it overturned immediately, urgently, because that baby won't be able to come back.
Yeah, it's quite
I know.
sad. But if you guys don't or don't know what undesirable means, it means that you overstayed in the country and you are not welcome back. You
Yeah.
can't come back for a few years. So,
Yeah.
and that
Well, it
is
depends on the
stamped on
length of
your
overstay.
passport. So it's just
Yeah,
it's like I don't know because then that
yeah,
makes me think when you try to travel to other countries, they're gonna see that and it's like, should I let them
I
in or not?
know.
Because it's
Yeah,
like having that pattern, and it's just like, and the baby is just like,
yeah,
it's a new baby,
yeah. I
it's a
know,
new
and it's a
baby, and
tiny,
you're gonna
tiny
put
baby.
undesirable in the baby passport. I just like you have to laugh at it from even being sad or crying about it because it's just like, dude, it's not okay.
It's like
That can
your
also happen
brain
to
can't
a person.
comprehend.
So don't overstay. Don't play those games. Get out
Yeah,
of there when they tell you to get out of there. Make if you have
yeah,
the process because even sometimes I think recently or this year they had where you had the letter that shows your visa is in process, that you can still travel. Some
Yeah.
immigration officers weren't even abiding by that. So some people
Yeah.
said, even though I have this Home Affairs and VFS,
Yeah.
I mean Home Affairs and VFS is saying, hey, I can do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
at the border. They're like, okay, no. So it's like I
Yeah.
have to leave anyway, just so that I can stay up to date. And
Yeah.
that is like not okay because I have an official letter, yet
Yeah.
certain people not
And it's
abiding by the.
expensive.
Yeah, so it's like you're
And
right.
it
One hand
costs
is not
money.
speaking to the other. So what do you do?
Yeah.
I I'm not an expert. You
Like for
are, but I
me,
say on the safe side,
yeah,
get out of there until your
I've
stuff
like
comes.
I for instance had um, I've luckily I've never had issues like that with my clients, right? In actual fact, I had a Dutch client who just left South. She submitted on the 14th of March, so prior to the 31st of March. And obviously, my heart sits in my throat because I hear all these horror stories. I know it's not supposed to be, but you can't help but stress, you know. Um, and what I told her, because her visa also already ran out, and what I told her is, you take this passport, but you don't give the passport. You put your original VFS receipt plus the copy of the directive or the concession that I gave you, the blanket waiver. You put it on top of your passport, and you make sure that that immigration official, they see it. I highlighted those dates. I highlighted the, the extended concession dates, and I told them, don't give your passport first, because the moment they scan in that passport, the flag is going to go up. So you need to ensure that they see the dates, they see the original VFS receipt, and then they will override the system. And she did exactly what I said. She messaged me yesterday to say, landed safely in the Netherlands. I'm all good. Everything went well at immigration control. So if you are of those individuals who do qualify for the concession, who can travel out, please put your original receipt and a copy of that concession on top of your passport so that the immigration control can see it first. Then they know. They know. You can even tell them, I do qualify for this. I shouldn't be banned. Make sure they see these documents first, because then they know rather override the system before they just scan the passport, because that's how the mistakes happen.
Well,
So
I
yeah,
thank you
but
so
I
much because
find Cape Town. No problem. I find that Cape Town International Airport, they're much more efficient and consistent. I know I'm staying in Cape Town, but it is a fact. So they are much more consistent and efficient than what the experiences that we make in Johannesburg, for instance. I know they're quite fond of banning people
so you're saying
ridiculously.
if you are in South Africa, go to Cape Town and not Joburg.
Wow. I'm just
That is
saying,
noted.
it's just
I'm
that the
actually I'm gonna
experiences.
share that in the group. Go to Cape
Yeah,
Town.
it's just. Should I step into it now? No, it's just the experiences that we make. We do find that there's definitely a better understanding of the concession or the blanket waiver. Um, it might be that there's just a need to want to better understand it and more caring than just like, I don't care, I'm just scanning whatever. It's just a lot of instances, but that's just the experiences that we make. So yes.
Okay, well, I appreciate you being on today and actually just sharing some things that I didn't know about, especially,
Yeah.
that, certain visas. I did hear about the business visa. I know a lot of people want to come over on the business visa, but I think you need like half a million rand, or I mean 5 million rand, right? For the business
Five.
visa.
Well,
Okay, what is that in dollars? Let's switch
oh,
that over so people know what that is.
you, I'm actually not sure.
Where's
I
my
would have to do a
converter?
currency.
Let's see.
Well, you don't. You just need to show that you have at least 5 million South African rands available to be invested. So you don't have to immediately invest it. You just have to prove that it's available to be invested into South Africa.
Okay.
And
So
it
that
also
is
cannot, yes,
$260,000,
yes,
700, well, 260,794 dollars and
more or less,
89
yeah.
cents.
Yeah. So you
And
just need
that's
to
at
show that it's
today's
available
rate.
at today's rate. So yeah, you just need to show that it's available to be invested. It doesn't have to be invested immediately, and it can also not be money that you generated already in South Africa. Unfortunately, it must come from abroad. So yeah,
Okay.
Jay, I think we still need to talk about one hot topic, and that's the remote working visa that I get harassed about a lot. So I don't know about you. I don't know about you, but I get this
I
a lot. I
do.
get this a lot.
So
So I,
I was like, are we going to talk about that? Or are we going to avoid it? But yeah, let's talk about it because let's go
I
ahead and
need
just
to
touch
speak
on
about it.
it. They're
I need to
playing
speak
games
about
with
it
it.
because I need to speak about it because I get a lot of this. And I just want to just put it out there that as things stand, there's no such visa for South Africa as yet, as it stands. So it's a visa that is currently being discussed by our government and the stakeholders, of course. Stakeholders meaning other relevant departments as well, and they a lot gets put into having a visa, right? It's a completely law change as well because you can't add a new visa type by means of a directive. No, the law must change. So they need to determine the conditions attached to this visa. They need to determine requirements. They're going to look at other countries and see how they present that visa, etc. So at the moment, as it stands, there's no such visa as a remote working visa or a digital nomad visa or working from abroad visa or anything like that. But we're going to keep you updated on that for sure.
Yeah, because a lot of people or a lot of countries have started doing the remote visa,
Yes,
the working abroad
yes,
visa, or what you call like nomad, because that's the I wouldn't say new wave because people have been doing it before. However, after COVID, it's the new wave.
yeah, yeah.
Where people are not
I
trying
would,
to go into the office anymore. They're trying
yeah,
to, companies are allowing
yeah,
people to be remote outside of their countries. And so it's just like,
100%.
who doesn't want to be in another country, by the beach, whatever, a different city, and
Exactly.
do your work by day and
Exactly.
explore on the
Exactly.
weekends and at night. So it is a visa that I think
100%.
should be considered. But fingers crossed,
Mhm.
hopefully, they come with it soon. I actually got that question on TikTok. So I was just like, it's like, do you have a remote visa?
I get it
I
all
was
the
like, I don't
time.
think
All
South
the time.
Africa has that, but let me check. And didn't find it. So, but yeah,
Not yet, not yet. I think it will be a tremendous boost for South Africa and
it would be,
purely
especially for the
for two
economy.
reasons. For two reasons, South Africa is I mean is a tourist destination. There's no two ways about it. It's one of the most preferred tourist destinations in the world. I mean, and secondly, we really have a good working or growing environment and economy that can only but benefit from this. So the government would be really, really, for lack of words, stupid not to offer this visa type. Not to offer this visa type. But I'm all for it. I'm very excited about it. Really, I am. So yeah.
Yeah, me too. Let's see. Let's see what they do. So before we go, just I know you help people with processing visas. What about if, someone is coming from another country and they want to buy property? Do you assist with that?
Mhm.
Is there, laws around that you help people navigate through, property, vehicles, all of that? Or is that just, or that's something that like you can say, I recommend you to someone
Mm.
via the next step. Because some people come and
Yes.
maybe just want to rent and be okay, but then some people are just like, I need someone to do all of it for me, or do you have a network that can assist?
Yeah. Yes. So that I definitely do. So just to clarify, you don't need a long-term visa to purchase property cash in South Africa. You don't need one, right? A lot of people, we refer to them as swallows. They spend like literally only the summer in South Africa, and they have properties here. So that would be properties that they bought cash, because you would really struggle to get a mortgage in South Africa if you don't have a long-term visa or even permanent residence. What I do, and I get quite a lot of inquiries like this. I have a very vast network, from conveyancing attorneys to forex people to insurance, those kind of things. So, and I simply refer them. I've been working with these people for years and years and years. So I have a good network who, if I'm not able to do it myself, I refer. So yeah, we call it like the one-stop shop, if you want to call it. I will either do it myself or I refer to those in my network who can assist us.
And just to be clear, guys, when she's talking about Forex, she's not talking about Forex trading. Forex is the exchange of, say, if I bring in US dollars and I want to
Yes,
buy something in South Africa land, I have to change that money over into rands. So you need a person to help you navigate that when it's a big, large sum, because you have to justify
yes,
why you're doing it and how to do it. So that is very important. People who just like,
100%.
oh, Forex trading. Well, I mean, not all of it's bad. It's just the exchange of money that you need to do in
Yeah,
order to make things happen and to
yes,
push things along.
100%,
But
100%.
yeah, this has been good. Thank you for your time. I want to know, and the people want to know, how do we reach you? If I want to come to South Africa, or I'm in South Africa and I want to, lobby you for your services, where can I go? Where can I reach you? What's your socials? Let the people know.
Sure, no problem. So I have a website, www.movingsouthimmigration.com. I have a IG page, Moving South Immigration. I have a TikTok page, Moving South Immigration, and I have a Facebook page, Moving South Immigration. So you can't go wrong if you just even simply Google Moving South Immigration. So
Yeah, you
yeah,
can't go
that's
wrong. It's all the same. And it's right there
exactly.
in her title, Moving South Immigration. And I will post it below in the description. Guys, this has been a life changing, I guess, podcast or broadcast for me. So hopefully it has been for you. And as Sue answered your questions, because these are the questions that I was getting within the comments, getting individually, getting personally, on all platforms: TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. It was messages I was finding like maybe months later, because they put it in a different folder if you're not friends, asking me about some of these things. I'm
Yeah,
not an expert, but I wanted to make sure that this information gets to you, and hopefully it serves you as it serves me, and that your journey is a lot better. Sue, I thank you for being here,
you are
and this has
very
been
welcome.
it's been really, really well. But until next time, guys. And this is my journey from passion to purpose.